We finally come to the Blue Bloods, the Ventrue, so prideful and sure of their noble heritage. Where do they fall in the pages of history? Often seen kings and merchant princes, they stood well above common folk, noble stock, the rightful rulers of the kindred, but safeguarding the secrets hidden beneath the curtain. We will distinguish the truth and the lies. Follow me closely as we look back into the past. They cherish their history so much more than any other clan. They use it to justify their position and authority wielded over others. Not all is truth. They care not for truth or lie. The Ventrue use whatever means to keep the status quo. That is their dogma, claiming that Yasunoch is Kain's eldest sire, the founder, firmly believing that the Dark Father named Ventrue his successor in the first city. They justify without fact, believing their founder led the other antediluvians. Sometimes the belief is strong enough to make a lie reality. Their first true accomplishment, attributed to them, is Sparta, Artemis, named for the Greek divine, or perhaps what humans saw. She was taken with Lycurgus, the philosopher, and his ideals, supporting him to make humans a tool to be used instead of fought. She even made herself the Spartans' patron goddess. She saw them as a perfect example of mortal potential. This gave rise to the Prince Evercus, who was seen as power and wealth incarnate. The growing power of Sparta and the Bruja's alliance with Athens. This would lead to the First Bruja War, a conflict which set the stage for this very day. Rome, the city ruled by Etruscans until the rebellion attributed by Colat. He did not rule the Romans from the light but the shadows, cloaking his movements behind darkness. Camillo would refine this when he took the throne of shadows. Ghouls were used as proxies, allowing for the first signs of the Masquerade. The Second Bruja War would parallel that of Rome and Carthage. Bruja, Assamite, and the Bali ruled as gods, seen as infernalists and monsters. War wouldn't break out until Dominic of the Bruja antagonized the Moldavian Prince of Syracuse, Alcaeus. In turn, he turned to Artemis and Archiel for help. We kindred avoid fighting in the open, especially these days. But in the final battle, Moldavian, Toreador, Ventrue, and Gangrel fought side by side with humans. It was a bloody affair, one the Ventrue won. The Bruja have never forgotten. Or forgiven! In the years that followed, Rome prospered, and the Ventrue would share their power. Any who took part in the Battle of Carthage were given much. The Ventrue finally began squabbling with one another. Following Julius Caesar, Camilla reorganized the Ventrue into structured democracy. This gave authority over clan members to the most important. While it wasn't absolute, it settled disputes. When Rome fell, the Ventrue fled to form new centers of power. The Holy Roman Empire would be one of them. Italy would be a place that would begin with that. However, Rome was dominated by the La Sombrara, as was the church. They settled for Venice, Milan, Genovia, and Firenze. The Ventrue fought often with the La Sombrara and their proxies in the church, but they failed. Thus they became merchant princes, securing power that way. During these moments, they were influenced by the laws of chivalry. Some left the main clan when the Camarilla began, turning to the Sabbat. In the 18th century, their impact was felt greatly. They were hungry and invaded other vampire domains, Ravenous and Daitya of India, and Setites of Egypt. They'd use propaganda as their weapon of choice, destroying them without throwing a single punch. If not for the Daiti, India would be under their thumb. The Toreador were repulsed by them. Tremere didn't care, other things were more important than some English doghouse.
and the gangrel treated as dogs and servants were not being hunted down, at least. They made compromises to smooth it over for useful kindred enemies. Now we come to the present day. 2 high-ranking members of the Ventrue killed by Theo Bell. Seattle in the midst of a war breaking out. What will you do, Ventrue? Will you step onto the battlefield as Artemis did? Tell me your story.
We've waited long enough, we have. It's our turn to tell our story. Tell our story, yes. We're here to show you the cracked mirror. We'll show you. Yes, we will. It's time.